Okay, Stevie here. This is gonna be one video that relates to, like, what Pine Power Ally does. Because I saw a video from a Pennsylvania rail fan talking about how, I'm starting to, not like Kathy Hochul at all, our governor in New York State. She simply just doesn't care about anyone but the rich. She's a limousine liberal who's corrupt, still better than the other candidate, Lee Zeldin, but not as nearly as good as the other two candidates, which were Tom Suozzi and Williams especially. She canceled congestion pricing, which, even though some people don't like it because it has its problems, it was going to help develop transportation improvements and improvements all over the state for everything else, with all the money it was going to make. And also it would keep roadways in New York City away from having gridlock. And one thing I just don't understand is, why don't they just, instead of doing congestion pricing, why don't they just rearrange the spending of the MTA's priorities so that they could easily earn a tons of surplus money and expand the transit network, bring new jobs, and then other things too, like providing housing for the disabled in places where it's needed, revitalizing places such as Mineola or Westbury that have been redlined. But she just likes to redline those places like Mineola and Westbury, Hicksville, Wyandanch. They're becoming terrible places to live. Even though I know a few months ago I said Mineola was a great place. But you've seen all the proof from my colleague Pine Power Ally. He also doesn't like Kathy Hochul. I initially liked her when she was first elected, but I no longer like her. Just look at what the state is doing. They're making projects like the Second Avenue subway take an entire century, which to complete the entire amount of time the subway's been around for. It's never going to make it if it's going to take a century to complete the Second Avenue subway. It's never going to be done if it's like that. And you've seen Nice Bus and how they're under orders with other politicians like Bruce Blakeman, who are with Kathy Hochul on a lot of things, who are cutting service where it's needed, causing buses to say "next bus, please" once they're filled. We also need to get rid of the part on bus service where it says "next bus, please." It's a way of stranding people and saying "F you" to riders. But our governor, Kathy Hochul, needs to go. We need to have a new governor before the 2026 election. I know she's better than Andrew Cuomo, way better than Andrew Cuomo, but she's just corrupt. She's a limousine liberal, and she supports things that the people on the South Shore of Long Island want. Another thing Pine Power Ally told me about those people on the South Shore in my education rant is about Regents exams in New York State. They're supported and brought to you by the South Shore, the elitists. The corrupt people who live in places like Rockville Center, Belmore, especially because they have Trump rallies there all the time, 24/7, at the train station. Wantam, Massapequa, Babylon, they're all in it on the Regents. They're causing students with special needs agony in high school. In fact, they're trying to prevent people with disabilities, people who can't handle just one or more of the subjects at high school level. They're trying to prevent them from graduating high school. Thankfully, most high schools are defying their orders and allowing people with, for example, Down syndrome to graduate high school without the Regents. But these schools are forced to defy the orders of the government in order to do that, meaning that none of these students with disabilities who didn't take algebra are actually true graduates of high school, all because of these people on the South Shore and Kathy Hochul, these elitists. This is horrible. Needs to change. Oh, just look at the Beeline bus and how corrupt it is, like Nice Bus. They have vital routes run like very infrequently on purpose. Like the 26 is very vital, the 66 is very vital. They only run like 10 runs per day on weekdays only. The 66 is vital crosstown, just like the 41 is on a nice bus. And look at how infrequently they run it. And look at how they also infrequently run the 30. They infrequently run service in the entirety of northern Westchester County. They infrequently run, well, not infrequently. They have this is different, but they have the number 8 bus not connect up to the 40 and 45 at Eastchester Square. They instead have it end in the stupidest place ever, like Tuckahoe, where there's no other transfers besides Metro North. Like, why is the B line neglecting its passengers and often, like, ending service very early and providing almost no service on weekends in many places? And then they decide in all paratransit systems to run under this system where they can't provide paratransit service to the places where they're needed. Instead, they provide it to the places that are less needed. Instead, they say, sorry, there's no bus routes in service. We can't run in your place. That's just a stupid old rule that should be gotten rid of. And Kathy Hochul's never going to do that because she wants all the money to herself. Just like Andrew Cuomo. I mean, the places that don't see fixed route bus service need the paratransit service more. What's more to understand about that? Why can't we understand that? That's why I think that MTA needs to come back to not just Nassau, but also Suffolk and Westchester, and eventually the whole state, too, as there's so little bus service in upstate New York. The MTA needs to provide that. And lastly, I want to say that that's a very stupid decision to abandon an important rail line in Putnam County, and it also goes to Dutchess and, Fairfield County, called the Beacon Line. They're trying to tear apart the tracks on that line. I don't approve of that, because my system, the TTT, needs those tracks to provide crosstown service in the future, when the project's actually done. Think about all the missed future crosstown railroad routes in the future that we're going to be missing out on just because that rail line's being torn apart for a rail trail, which we already have too many of. We have too many rail trails. We need to bring back all the rail lines without, of course, taking away the rail trails, but we need new rail lines. We don't need to just tear apart old rail lines that may be needed in the future, like the Beacon Line. I mean, why are they doing this to a vital crosstown rail line that could serve as a great transit resource in the future? Like, why? Oh, the limousine liberals like Kathy Hochul. They are corrupt. That's all I'm going to say, but please get this horrible governor out of our state. She doesn't deserve to be in politics, run a political position anywhere. We need a better governor, someone who's like Williams, like Jumaane Williams. That's all I gotta say.